All right, welcome back to the Corrective Culture podcast. Today we had both Pargo members on. Ellie, fucking hell.
I knew you had to get stuck on
I start doing that when my brain starts speeding up. Welcome back to the Corrective Culture podcast. Today we had the founders of Pargo on, and what a podcast it was. We went from everything water pretty much, And
It's hard.
do this now. Welcome back to the Corrective Culture podcast. Today we had the Pargo crew on. Yes, how good was the podcast?
Yeah, it was good. We spoke about their journey of just traveling and seeing how most places didn't have clean water, and how that was the main issue they saw all around these communities around the world, and how that inspired them to create the product to then give water with some crazy filter to all these people. And that journey, you know, we're going to get our own bottles made for you guys, and just went deep into that. So tune in.
Yeah, tune in. Okay, welcome back to the Corrective Culture podcast. Today we have Dill and Ellie from Pargo.
Hey.
Pargo water. Well, not water, but water containers.
Yeah, man, that it grew so quick, eh? It's crazy how that just become like the standard, I feel like, in is it in Australia or is it in our community? Obviously you're locals, right? So so everyone just runs Pargos. And my roommate, she's from UK. She's been living in Bali though. And this morning I was like, oh, we're having the Pargo people on the podcast today. She's like, what is Pargo? And I found there's a million water bottles in the house. Like, there's a Pargo right there. She's like, oh yeah, I know them. And all the way from, UK to Bali, and just like with the Australian sort of surf culture and whatnot. Yeah. It's, everyone's got one now. And it's such a sick, like what's your mission statement? Is that even a thing? What's a mission statement?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
What's your mission statement behind it?
Well, it's just about pretty much helping as many people as we can. Like, that's the whole kind of like the top of the list for us, is just to help as many. There's so many people that need help. It's crazy. Like, the stats are just like mind-boggling. Like, they kind of like, the more that, like, I don't know, like the WHO or whoever these people are that are like researching these actual stats, it's like 2 years ago, the stats were like, oh, there's 750 million people that don't have access to clean water, which is just like crazy. But now they're doing like more like stats, and it's like, oh, actually, we weren't really good at getting the stats back then. There's more like 2 billion people living without clean. Yeah. And even like those stats, like how they actually get the stats, it's like, are they going to every single community and like taking, you know, like I know that they're a little bit subjective, but it's mind blowing how many people still live today without clean water.
Were you going to say something there?
Oh, I was going to say, it's pretty warped to think about like people like, I don't know, fucking Travis Scott comes to mind with all flashy shit, and then you got people that can't even have water. Like, the polarity in this world is pretty nuts, eh?
Yeah, totally.
And you would have seen that, like, going to see these places.
For sure, yeah. That's kind of like how we came to starting this thing, I suppose. We sort of, you know, just doing our old jobs. Like, was an electrician. Ellie was a commercial real estate agent, and
wildly different to what I'm doing today.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, we were doing the thing, working, saving, and always wanted to travel and go surfing and get to all these cool places and stuff. And I always dreamed of like doing a huge trip that just kind of never ended. That was like my dream when I was a kid. And
sick. And
like I did like a year traveling, and it was like, I got a taste of it. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to go back and save like shitloads of money, and then like go and not come back kind of thing. Like, maybe not come back, who knows? Like, and then that's kind of what we did. We worked for really hard and just saved every cent. I was working on like a gas plant.
Oh, which one?
Curtis Island.
Oh yeah,
heaps of crew from here have worked up there. It was actually cool. It was like an evil scene, and like that whole program of like working for like a big construction company that's doing stuff that's mining gas out. It's like so against everything, and I just knew it wasn't me. And I was like, worked my way up and was like, had a good job. Like, people were like, oh, you're quitting? Like, when I was like, I'm quitting, and they were like, what do you mean you're quitting? You've got the best electrical job in Australia. And I was like, so? I was like, whatever. Like, I got to get out of here, you know, didn't feel right for me. Yeah. I knew that it wasn't like, other than putting money in the bank, that was all it was really doing. Like, I was a part of something that I just wasn't interested in. It was like so against the grain for me. So I had enough money to kind of be confident to quit and go and travel and go surfing and hang out and just, you know, touch base with myself again, I suppose. And Ellie was on the same program. We were like, let's just go. And we just went to Indo and kind of base ourselves there. And AirAsia flights were so cheap. You could, you know, go spend a month or two in Indo, and then we'd go to the Philippines, or then we'd come back and then go to Cambodia and Sri Lanka. We went to all these really cool like places, and obviously we were trying to get waves. So you're kind of like pushing to those like, you know, Jake, like to those like super remote areas, and there's like usually that's where the better waves are, the further remote you get. So we were like kind of just immersed in these people's lives, just going, wow, this is like, we were just loving our life, you know, like it was so good. We were just traveling around, and then it had been like a year, and then we flew to the States and bought a truck, like an old F-250 camper, and we put this big camper in the back of it, like built it all kind of over there, and this legend let us stay at his house for like 6 weeks, and we were like borrowing his tools and renoing it. It was so funny. And then we got in it and we were like, thanks for letting us stay. And then we were kind of like, all right, well, this is our home now. And then we'd been away for about a year and a bit. And then, then we were in the States, like, all right, let's get to Mexico. So we drove down to the Baja, and it was so cool. We like met all these legends in the Baja, and then we went over to mainland Mexico, and that was pretty much our life, was just surfing, cruising, whatever. You know, we weren't really worried about too much, and just learning about people's and different lives, because we were in this camper in the back of it living there. So a lot of the time we would like just park up in someone's house or in their like backyard, or, you know, Mexico's an amazing place, and it's like people freak out about Mexico because of all the media and the stories, but inherently the people are so nice.
Really?
They're just the most beautiful people, and like they were so welcoming. But we would always usually like pay a family to stay at their house or something, you know, or in their yard, or it's like a campground, it's $5 a night. So you're just like, you're not just on the street in your camper, you're still sort of like kind of like you hang with the locals, you're protected by the locals kind of thing. And then we just kept going, like, all right, let's next country, El Salvador, Guatemala, you know, all these places. We got to Nicaragua, and everywhere we went was just like the same issue for the locals. It was like they couldn't drink the water out of the tap where they were living. And we couldn't drink it either. So we had to like source our own clean water basically for like, it ended up being like we were away for like 3 years, but every country we went. And at the start it was like, hey, I was like buying bottled water, like 1 litre bottled water. So that was a problem. We're like, oh my God, this is a problem. Like,
we were becoming a plastic factory.
And because you can really see all your rubbish when you're in a camper, because you don't just put it in the bin and let it go. You're like, oh, it's building up. Like then you got to go find a bin, sort of, because you don't have your own bin. And then it's like, oh, you can't just like leave it on the street. So you got to go find it. It's like, whoa. So we found out about the agua purifier places. So we ended up getting like a 40 litre container and have like good drinking water that we could refill. And then we had some old shitty insulated bottles that we had, and that kind of like help that problem. But everywhere we went, it was just the same problem. Like people couldn't afford to buy the bottled water, because like a lot of the places it's there, but they were just drinking what they had, or not drinking water, or having a coconut, or it was like consistently, hey, like every single town or every single place we went to, it was the same problem. So it was just like, whoa, this is 2015, 2016 at the time, and I was like, I remember thinking like, far out, like. We all know, like a lot of us have travelled to Indo or you know, Bali or whatever, and you can't drink the water out of the tap. You got to, you know, be really careful when you're there, because you have one mouthful. You're like, oh, it could be a trip over. You know, you get Bali belly and you're done. So like we had to think about that all the time. Hey, and then we were just like,
we pretty much lived our travel around how much water we had, like in our truck, because you know we kind of did make a commitment to ourselves that we weren't going to buy bottled water. So we really were just filling up our 40 litre, and as soon as that like finished, then we would have to go source more water. So sometimes we'd have to move on to the next place purely just for water. And I think that really made us talk about it so much to each other, and we were just like, wow, this is such a big problem, and we're living day to day in this problem now, because we're living with these locals in their backyards. And I don't know, I guess just after like 2.5 years it was, we kind of looked at each other and was like, we need to do something about this. Like, you know, we have the power to be able to help, and we feel comfortable in like going to these remote areas and, you know, there are so many people out there that don't feel comfortable, and that's fine. But we in ourselves have, you know, we're able to do that. So that's kind of where we came to in really just saying to each other, like, let's do something. And how
totally.
can we make this happen?
Yeah, we found out about the Waves for Water like organisation. I'd heard whispers about them over the years, and I knew that they'd implemented these filters, and we ended up watching a documentary real late one night, and it was on the guy that started and what he had done, and he was just like this guerrilla style guy, just like there'd be like a natural disaster and he'd just be there like with these filters, just like helping people, like biggest legend ever. Yeah. And we were, long story short, we were back up in the States, and or in between that actually, sorry, just to reverse, we were in Nicaragua, and Ellie, it's kind of like a really important part of the story, I think, is we were in Nicaragua and Ellie got really sick, like really sick. She drank some dirty water
By accident.
Accidentally. Yeah, we were telling you this the other day, Jake, and it was like, I mean, I suppose Ellie, tell the story better. You accidentally drank some.
Yeah, I guess going back to like needing clean water all the time, we were traveling with another couple that had they were
there we go. That's nice.
There it is.
They were living in a bus, and they had a reverse osmosis system, and that's how they filtered their water. So they were like literally filling their bus up with water from like a Pemex, which is like the Mexican servo over there. And so that's where their water was coming from. But they were filtering it with their reverse osmosis system. So they always had endless water, and we ran out of our 40-litre big jug. So we got to go. And they're like, no, stay another night. You can just use our water. And I was like, okay, sweet. They're like, just fill your water bottle up anytime you want in our bus. And I was like, yep, cool. And I had been in like cooking dinners and stuff in their bus before. So I just saw that she was using all the taps and everything in the bus, but I guess I didn't really pay too much attention. So anyway, filled my water bottle up. And then at the time I had bronchitis, and she was really, my friend Crystal, she was really into essential oils. So she was like, here, put some oils like in your water bottle, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, drank that litre of water, didn't think anything of it. Next morning I woke up and I was like, wow, I'm like the sickest I've ever been. Wow. And I've had like barley belly, I've had like turkey belly, they call it over in Turkey, and things like that. But this was like really different, and nobody else was sick. So, and we'd all eaten the same thing. Everyone was like, weird, like, why are you sick? Anyway, it was just one thing led to the other, and it just got like really, really sick. And like, I think I woke up on like day 7 and I said to Dylan, I'm like, I actually feel like I'm about to die. Like, I need you to really take me to the hospital like straight away. And I remember that was like 3-hour drive, and I was like, this drive is going for so long, like just get me there. Anyway, got to the hospital, and then obviously what they do, they like, you know, pump you with fluids and things like that. And they did like, it was a really great hospital. Like, they obviously took my blood, but the blood levels that they brought back were like so extensive. It was like every bacteria, like all these different levels of things. And they were like, oh, you've like drunk like a lot of dirty water. And we were like, no, like I haven't, like we're so careful. There's no way. Anyway, whatever, they gave me antibiotics and everything to get better. And we ended up having to stay at a hotel for like 10 days or something crazy. I remember we tried to leave the hotel, and it was like I got so sick again that we had to check back in. And yeah, this went on for like 3 months probably, like up and down. And then anyway, 6 months later, we run into our friends again with their bus, and I don't know, they were just like, must have like fill your water bottle up. I went to fill it up, and they were like, whoa, don't fill it up out of that tap. You have to fill it up out of the little tap that's the reverse osmosis tap. And I was like, oh. And I just looked at it, I was like, oh my God, that's why I'm so sick. Like, I filled it up, and then that's when we got the realization. But yeah, I mean, that sickness went on for years in the end. And thank you to you guys. I did the corrective culture cleanse, and that was like life-changing for me.
Really?
Yeah, I did a lot of, I guess like once I did the course of antibiotics and all of that. It like went on for 3 months. I had to go to another Mexican hospital because it just wasn't getting better, because it would come and go. So some weeks I'd be good and other weeks I wouldn't. And then I think when I went to the Mexican hospital, then I must have got like more antibiotics and I was feeling good. And then, I guess like 2 to 3 years later, I started to get all these problems and we didn't really know what was going on. And then I went and got one of those gut microbiome tests that costs a fortune.
Stool test,
and everything. But I was like, I don't care. I just want to get to the bottom of it. And that actually came back that I didn't have parasites, because Dylan, he was like, I think you've got parasites. Like, I've been listening to the corrective culture guys. Like, I'm pretty sure you do. And I was like, yeah, it looks like I do. He's like, you've got to do this like crazy cleanse. And I was like, oh, I've been like, already had done like low FODMAP. I'd tried like all these things. And I was like, oh, another one. And I was like, I might just go and get this test I've been looking up. Anyway, it came back. It did come back that I did have a little bacteria, but it said no parasites at all, which was crazy, because then I did the cleanse and had like, felt like thousands of liver flukes.
Wow.
Yeah, just like, it changed me so much. Like, I need to show you guys the photos, but like those before and afters, I never share them publicly, but I'd love to share them with you guys.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
I didn't know it either. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it was life-changing. And I think getting back to the clean water, it was just like this experience happened. And that was like another driving factor to do something about this, because if we weren't financially able to go to a hospital, like millions of people around the world have no access to hospitals because they literally can't afford it, then that's how you die, right? So I essentially, if I was like living in these poverty-stricken villages and that had happened, that could have been the result. I'm not saying it would have been, but it could have been.
Pretty sick.
Yeah. And like, I mean, we look up the clean water stats all the time, and the other day we were looking at it, and it's like, what was it? 830,000 people die every year.
Directly related to like bad water, basically.
Yeah. And that's like death, right? But like the sicknesses that people live with is far greater. And that is what our mission really is to like bring health into people's lives through clean water. And that's
really
amazing.
That's really cool. And also, I had liver flukes also when I went to Japan. First time I did the cleanse heaps, never had them, and then I got them, and I got rid of them within like the first couple of weeks, but I could feel my health was just like less. My what are you going to call it? My life force was less, and I was getting like a tiny little like almost like cramp sort of feeling in like the right side of my stomach, which is now a super common symptom, because the parasites generally will live in that ileocecal valve, which is on the right side of your stomach. So they'll breathe through there. Same in the appendix. A lot of appendix issues are parasite infections. And these like long-term things, and the symptoms for that generally is like trouble digesting fats, and alcohol can really make you sick.
Totally.
Yeah, compared to
For
normal.
sure.
Yeah.
I definitely know.
Because
all about
they eat
that.
your liver.
Yeah.
They literally eat your liver.
Yeah, and they sit on the bile ducts, right?
Yeah, they consume the bile ducts, so much so that people get the gallbladders removed, right? And that's a really common thing. But there's always hundreds of them, if not thousands. There's never like just one or two liver flukes, because they seem to breed so quickly. But first and foremost, they would be, I reckon, 90% of the parasites we have come out in the cleanse, if not more, man. We should figure out what that stat would be, but is all liver flukes, and they are dirty water, and like bad like fish and stuff, like farm fish and things like that. So like raw fish is super common for them,
because you can't test for them.
Yeah, can
you? Or?
No, you can, but the tests don't always show up. So this is the point that people study the tests too much, and they say don't just guess, get a test for that. But I'm like, fuck, but we know of so many people, and it's another story right now, where they get tested, and the tests only test for the eggs. All the tests test for the eggs. So if the egg doesn't show up in the test, then they think they're not there. But then the person's symptoms are there, and then when all of a sudden and the story you've heard it before. One of our mentors, Matt, his client had 2 meters of worms coming out a day, as in like just lots of little ones added up to about 2 meters, like a crazy infection that was literally falling out of her ass. That's how bad it was in London. Wow. And she went to the parasitologist place in London and then said, test me. I got these. This is it. I'm showing you it. And then they gave her the results back. Like, oh, no, you're good. Like, you don't have any parasite infections. And then she's like, no, I do. Like, I don't care what your test says. This is literally it. And they're like, oh, we can't help you because your test didn't show it. And the point of that was saying, oh, if it's all evidence-based, basically we're looking at paper instead of the person in front of us. And a story like yours, one day, who knows, that could have killed you one day.
Yeah.
You know, and it may have been another genetic weakness that would have shown itself that you wouldn't have tied it to that, or some little issue. But either way, it's a huge stressor to your body because it's literally consuming all your food and nutrients. And then maybe your genetic weakness in your bloodline would show itself. And then the doctor would tell you it's genetics and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Which is fucking...
Yeah, it's
mind-blowing.
It's far greater than we think. I reckon. Like, I was listening to Doug Hoffman. I talked to you about it the other day, and say how when your body heats up, parasites and fungal kind of take over.
Yeah.
They hang around yoga mats. They hang around hospitals where people's immune systems are weak.
Yeah.
And then they enter the system and they start to kill you slowly. And you look at what cancer is. I'm not saying this is a cure to cancer, but Doug Hoffman really kind of believes that. He's like, because it is an autoimmune disease. It's like your body's final cry for help. It's like, fuck, all right, well, I'm shutting down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And parasites really come in and they infect the body. And if you've got a weak immune system, they just take you over. You're hot. You got inflammation.
Totally.
They're attracted to you. So yeah, isn't that crazy?
They're just feeding off what you're feeding them too.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing about it. It's
They all eat sugar, man.
they just love the sugar. Hey?
Yeah.
We say when we have an infection, we're like, is that you speaking or is that the parasites? Like,
did you have mucus in that too?
Yeah.
Yeah, mucus is how they hide in your immune system. So the mucus will almost be your DNA in it. So then your body doesn't recognize them as an invader. It's a crazy system, isn't it? It's genius.
It enters the brains of cows and everything. Like what's that? Protozoa, which is a blood parasite, enters their brain and makes them eat certain things that will give them more parasites. So it takes over.
It's insane how like they're like programmed. They're obviously not consciously thinking that, but it's like that's their program.
Yeah,
to like get into your brain and control you. It's like sci-fi.
Yeah,
It's
man.
wild.
If you told us 5 years ago, would we be selling a parasite cleanse? Two guys that are not parasitologists. Is that what they're called?
All parasites.
but just knowing the truth. And we're so blessed with the Czech stuff, man, because Paul spoke about this for 30 years. He's like, oh, parasites are, and based off Doug Kaufman's stuff, who's even longer and older, he goes, this is so common and no one knows this. And the whole Western world is behind this. And there's some people talk about it, but again, if the test doesn't show it, they're not going to do anything about it. So
100%.
It's just like, it's one of the craziest things going on in the world that the whole world, and now I'd never really thought about the dirty water because that's where you fucking get them, right?
Yeah.
And another crazy story. You remember how I thought I had some in Bali? Remember how I went to Bali recently? And this like stuff come out of me, and because I felt shit for a little bit, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And I was like, did I eat mushrooms or something? And then this chick just posted in the cleanse group the other day. She goes, this all came out, and it was exactly what I had, and she was just full of like all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that was parasites, because no, that's exactly what I had. Like, so you could have took the same photo of our shit. And but
I wonder if they were passing through you quicker as well because you're not feeding them.
Well, that mine actually died. I had one serving of purge, and they all come out of me. So so I wasn't really having much sugar. Yeah, but I was actually having oregano oil when I was in Japan, just as like a keeping me safe sort of thing. So that would have been definitely doing some damage. And then as soon as I took the purge, within under 3 hours, they just come out of me, and I come out almost like a ghost because I saw this thing. I saw Harry, and I was like, dude, I think I just shadowed a parasite, eh? And it wigged me the fuck out because there was only one that come out at start.
Would have freaked you out.
And it was like still fresh, this one. Like, you know how the liver flukes are always rolled up thin leaves? This one wasn't thin still, it's thick.
Like a slug.
Like a slug. Yeah, it was exactly like a slug, man. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And I grabbed tweezers and like really tried to find the face of it and shit, and I couldn't. It was just like a full slug. But I was like, I've eaten nothing like this. And I was really trying to break down what I've eaten. And then this little mucus ball was with it. And I was like, what the fuck is this thing? And I got I still got a video of it. I got the tweezers and I opened up the mucus ball, and there was a full egg inside of it. Like, like looks like a sesame seed. Almost bigger than a sesame seed though.
It's crazy.
And then I remember some parasite chick on Instagram was trying to tell me, there's no way liver flukes can't infect you that quickly. They do this and this. And I'm like, oi, I'm telling you, what the fuck is this thing?
Yeah.
And then the next 3 days, hundreds of them come out, hundreds of eggs. I went and got a colonic, just saw lots of these things, and I didn't really eat food during those days. So it wasn't food. It just kept coming out the same thing. I was like, whoa. And then it rattled me a little bit, and I was like, all right, like imagine if I didn't know to just I just took the herb just in case because I knew I ate heaps of sushi and shit. But I was just like, imagine if I didn't know that, dude. That'd be my little, and I don't go to the doctors and shit, so that would have been an issue for fucking ages, thinking, why is my stomach cramping? I need to go cut out garlic and onion and FODMAP.
Yeah, totally.
But Doug Kaufman says it really well, and it's what you did was you starve it of sugar, because that's their food source. You support your immune system, and then you bring in things that help them come out, which would be the herbs, right? And the purge mix is a bunch of different herbs, because different parasites respond to different things. But if you hit them with the hit, like they're going to come out.
Totally.
And that's a crazy
fucking. It's pretty amazing. Hey,
crazy cleanse.
Yeah.
Well, changed my life, and it was definitely a process.
It's not easy.
Wigged me out.
Not many good things in life are there.
You kind of also get that release of just feeling amazing. So you just you get to the end and you're like, oh, I just want them all out.
When you saw them come out, was that a feeling of relief in the sense of, oh, this is probably my shit that's been going on for the last couple of years?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's
just
wild.
that kind of Dylan had told me for a couple of months prior, I think you really do have them. And,
I'd be doing my own research going, well, I don't have those symptoms. Because symptoms, I feel I don't know, symptoms are pretty good telltale signs that there's something wrong, right? And I'm looking at all the symptoms, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I've got one or two of those little symptoms here and there. Every now and then I'll get an itchy head or something, you know, and but yeah, Ellie, I was like, whoa, I know at least 5 of those symptoms Ellie talks about. I was like, I'm pretty sure you might have something going on.
I had the symptom that I felt like things were crawling under my skin.
Whoa.
That was, and I think I researched that, and it didn't happen every day. It only happened every now and then. And I think that might happen with the moon cycle.
Yeah.
So every couple of weeks, probably every 4 weeks, 3 weeks, I would just lay in bed and it still feels like something's under my skin,
usually full moon.
Crazy,
yeah, and feel itchy, and I just said I just feel like things are crawling through me, and then that's
and sugar too. I read the other day that sugar suppresses your immune system for 6 hours, 1 tablespoon.
Wow.
So you think how that is related to parasites if you're having that much sugar. And I've been really watching my sugar lately. It's changed my sleep, absolutely. But if I was to have, say, I don't know, a soft drink, just a natural organic cola, there's 9.6 grams in that serving. It's a lot of fucking sugar. That's enough to suppress your immune system and make you sick. So think about the parasites that will enter you whilst your immune system's suppressed just from having 1 tablespoon of sugar.
Yeah, 100%.
And I consider us being pretty onto our sugar. But man, it's in everything.
That was what the cleanse did for me, I think, was make me realize, because I'm not a massive sugar person, but I was without realizing it. The sauces or all this hidden sugar.
Just a little bit here and there.
And you don't really even think you're even having it. And then you realize when you stop it. Yeah. I remember walking into the shops, I had to buy some I don't know, it was garlic or something. I was and I went into Woolies, and I had to go in there, and I walked in, and just the colours and the packets and everything, I was like, whoa, this is so fucking evil.
Dude, it is, man. It's
so
weird
evil.
when you see it now, eh?
Yeah.
I was in Coles the other day because I was getting some stuff for Honey, and the butcher was closed. And I get her the human meat, but it's I give it to the dog.
Same.
Which is so as we're talking about people can't get water, and we're concerned about if the pH is 7.4 or the 3.
I know.
It's all relative though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you start with let's just get them water, you know.
Yeah, totally.
But I was taking note of just the life force of the place and the people in it, and then I take note of the people in Greensmith Grocer and the skin and shit. And I'm like, whoa, there's all these people seemed sort of unhappy, just on their grind, you know, going to the next aisle. The skin, the red tinge, the overweight, the just lack of. It felt like zombies, you know. And then I was at Greensmith, and it was just hey, how you going? It was just a different, isn't it? Energy,
Greensmith.
Health, skin, I was like, whoa, this is the light, this is the world, man. We're a part of it. It's crazy looking back on our way of thinking back then, and thinking, hey, you can change. You don't know what you don't know.
Totally. Yeah, 100%.
It's to say Dylan, you know, if we were to, you as a soul, if we were to just take everything else that you know about health and water and everything else, we just rip that out of you right now, who would you be?
Yeah.
And you think about that and you're like, fuck, that's what a lot of people are. Totally. They're just beginning their journey. So you can help them along that. But what I wanted to touch on was, which is really cool, because you guys have 5% of your sales, so 5% of your profits go back into creating filters for people. And the coolest thing, we talked about the filter the other day, which I really want to touch on the filter and what it is with the string theory, the string and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And how it lasts 15 years, one filter, which is $90 or $95, dude.
Yeah.
Can last a family 15 years.
Yeah, it's incredible. So I suppose it's 5% of revenue actually.
Okay.
Profit.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah. So we do
that's good.
off the top of any sale,
amazing.
whether it's a online sale, a corporate gifting for an event, or like a collab or anything like that. It's just 5% straight off the top because it makes it possible to do it. Like they're cheap, but they're not cheap when you do a lot of them at once. But it's about $90 for the bucket and the filter combo.
Yep.
The filter's like a cartridge filter. It's like literally this big. You can't even open it up because you don't need to. All you have to do is backwash the filter, and it's a hollow membrane filter. So it's like a piece of string that has it's hollow and it has two walls basically, and it's 0.1 micron absolute is the size of the holes. So essentially it's like a coffee drip filter. Like that's the idea. It's like filtering it through just from gravity. Yeah. And so if you did open up, it'd just look like a big string inside this filter, but the water's got to go through the outside wall and the inside wall and then the outside wall. And so it's just physically stopping protozoas, cysts, bacteria, E. coli, all of the nasties that are in the water that really are going to make you sick, like the physical things that are, and because it's 0.1 micron absolute, and they've been like, these are patented design. We don't make the filters. We just purchase them from the people that make the best filters in the world. It's called Sawyer. The company's called Sawyer Filters, and they are incredible. And so they're a little cartridge filter that can do a minimum of 4 million litres of water, one filter. And all you have to do is backwash it. So after a day or 2 or 3, depending on how dirty the water is that you're cleaning, because a lot of the time the water is clear to look at through your eyes, but it's not clean. And then sometimes after a heavy rain event or just anything, it can be really polluted with dirt and sediment and stuff, which is so bad for your system. Like if you're drinking dirt, it's like sandpaper on your system, and you're just coughing. Yeah, it's so bad. We purchase the filters usually with like a charity partner on the ground. I don't know, there's nothing worse than like the idea of rolling in with your bag of filters like, I'm going to save the world. It's like we need to make sure it's organized before we go. But we do a needs assessment for every project. We make sure it's organized before we go, like how many people are in the village, how many households, how many people in each household.
What their water source currently is really important as well.
Yeah. So where the water's coming from. And then we just go and basically do a big demonstration we do education, and we have someone, if it's a country where we can't speak the language, as usually it is, I can speak a bit of Indo, and my Spanish is, not good enough to run a thing. So we'll have somebody to help us.
Cool.
And explain like the importance of sanitation and the livestock situation where they're drinking, and like it's all right there a lot of the time. Like that, some of the places are literally drinking out of the same water from like rain runoff, and it's like pooling up, and then the livestock are drinking it. They're bucketing it and drinking it. It's just mind blowing.
Wow.
Well, the other issue that they have is when it rains, they collect the water, and that is their water source. So then,
so they're not getting the nutrients.
They're storing the water, and then that's how you get waterborne disease from like all the mosquitoes and the bugs that are constantly sitting in that water.
Right.
But they only have that water from rain because they might not have any like plumbing into that village. So that's really how they get sick, because that's how they have no other option. So they'll boil the water, but it's really not enough. And then
you can see it sometimes. I remember looking at this guy's house. I was like, show us your water. And he showed us, and he lifted up. He's like all proud. He had this big tank of water.
Crazy.
And I was like, whoa. And it was just like
you could see
bugs
the
bugs
and stuff.
It was like you could
little,
see
like,
parasites, because now I know what they look like.
Yeah.
It was mind blowing.
And just so sad too. And if like other things that we've seen as well, like which they do a lot, is they use an old t-shirt, and they wrap that around the hose, or they wrap that around like their water source, and they filter it through the t-shirt, and they think that's enough. But definitely not enough.
No.
That's why these filters.
Yeah, these filters are insane. They're such high quality. So they're lasting for 15 years now, and now they're from what we've been told from chatting to the guys that they're only 15 years old. And the ones that are 15 years old are still perfectly good. So they're like, so they might even last like lifetime, but they're guaranteed for that long, you know.
Fuck, man, that's amazing. When you think about all the money in the world, how it could be done so quickly.
Such a simple device, and with a bucket, and it's gravity fed. So you drill a hole in the bucket about that far off the bottom, so all the sediment can sit in the bottom, and then it's got a hose on it and a little hook, and it hooks onto the top of the bucket, and that's off. And then you put the hose down, and then it's on. It's like that simple, and then you can have instant clean water, like the dirtiest, brownest. Literally, you could take a shit in the top of the bucket, and it would filter it, and you would be okay. You would be okay. There'd be no E. coli. Would be able to.
How fast does the water run through?
It's a fast flow filter, so it does like a litre a minute.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So 100 people can survive per day off one filter. But we just one filter per family.
Yeah.
We did try some stuff where it was multiple households, but we learnt that it's funny, like we don't talk to our neighbour here. Same in other countries, and they'll let one guy have it and he won't let the other guy use it. So now it's just like everyone gets
different cultures are different though. Like when we did a bunch of projects in the Philippines, they really love to share. And they do kind of talk with their neighbours, and it's a totally different culture to how Indonesians live. So depending on the country, it depends on how many people share the filter. But in these countries, there's like 8 or 9 people living in the one household. So one filter for 9 people for $95. Plus, obviously, there's some other costs that goes into actually, implementing them.
Yeah,
crazy. But relatively affordable for, these now 8-10 people in the household to then have water for 15 years.
Yeah.
And something that I think is really important is with all the filters that we implement, 6 to 12 months later, we go back and monitor those filters. So it won't be us personally. We try to do around 3 projects a year, and
physically on the ground.
If feasible and if the need is there for Dylan and I, or sometimes we bring our team if we need more hands to implement the filters, and then the team that we're working with on the ground, they're the ones that will go back 6 to 12 months later and assess the filter, because it's all well and good giving them the filter, but like if they didn't pick up on how that filter really worked in that like 5 hours that we're there, once they start to get to use it, they might, their filter might get clogged or something like that because they weren't listening. So then every filter that we implement is barcoded, and there's a point on the map so that we know where all of the filters are.
Cool.
I think that's probably the most important thing about giving, is not just giving them the filters and then I'll see you later, on to the next project.
Well, that was a bit of a freak out for us when we came up with this idea. So we were like, back to like being in Central America and Indo and all those places. And when we found out about these filters, and then we were like, whoa. And then we had come up with the idea about a reusable premium quality drinkware product that had like a vibe where it was like cool-ish for people to like want to take a reusable cup to the cafe. I think there was like a while ago, it was like, I feel like there was a lot of girls that were moving forward with like that, and the guys weren't keen on taking a cup to the cafe to like be, to be a bit better for the environment.
True. That's true. Yeah.
And we just wanted to make something that was like really stylish and cool that people would buy if they didn't even care about the clean water thing. But then for us, it's like at the top of the list. So it's like, we were sort of, I couldn't believe how many people, like every time we mentioned it, was like, oh, that's such a great idea. You got to make this happen. And then we connected with the Waves for Water people because they had the connection with the filters, and it was just like this positive like snowball effect. Like everyone was like, whoa, no, that's such a good idea. Go talk to this guy, And then we were like, all right, we're doing this. Let's go do this. But yeah, the filters, like being able to just take such a simple device, because everywhere I've traveled, I know I've heard stories of like there's towns out there in, I suppose in Africa and stuff where they literally don't have any water, but I've never been to a place where there's no water there. Like every place I've ever traveled, there's been a tap or there's been a hose or something but the problem is it's not clean, you know.
And that's the thing, they've done all the hard work in getting the water to their village. But it's not drinkable.
Drink it. And then they can't afford the bottled water because that's and
that's what drew us to the filters, is because, you know, traveling for this 3 years that we were on, every place we went had a tap. And then when we watched this documentary about these filters, and then when we were traveling, we ran into a few other people that we met along the way, and they knew about these filters because we started asking people. And that was the best thing about it is that you can literally take this filter into a village and 10 minutes later you can filter the water. Like, it literally takes, like, we were timing it. It's like couple of minutes to
slowly put it together. You just assemble the filter basically.
It's
so simple.
How big is the filter? Like,
it's like literally like that big.
Man, even hunters should take that hunting and shit.
I've got one. I take it in my trip.
Oh right,
my kit. I've got like a faucet adapter, so I don't have a bucket. I've got like a thing that clicks over the tap. So I can just filter it through the tap. But the bucket's a bit more suitable for like remote villages because like they'll have a tap in the village, but not everyone has a tap, you know, or sometimes they do, but a lot of the time they don't. So having a bucket, they're already kind of used to storing the water in a bucket anyway. So now they can just like, it's almost like set and forget, get the filter bucket, and then they can drop it into another bucket and then just like, you know, go do the washing, do your chores, whatever, an hour later, come back, or a couple hours later, and then it's filtered a buttload of water for the day, you know, and you can just kind of do that every night or every day. And then they've always got clean water to wash and cook and clean with and stuff like that. Such a simple.
It's been amazing going back into. So we went to back to Sumbawa 1 year later after we'd done a project because we knew that they needed more filters. So we took more filters back. But when we were there, we did some monitoring to go and check on some filters, even though we had already done a little bit of that with the guy on the ground. But we wanted to do some personally, and it was such a crazy experience. People were like, once they heard that we were in the village, you know, after we'd gone to 2 houses, they'd come in, have a look at the filter. Then there was literally people running out of their house holding the bucket and the filter going, hey, I've got one. Like, you know, and they were like so stoked. They were like hugging us and, you know, just telling us how it like
changed their life.
Fully changed their life.
Yeah, like skin rashes and diarrhea and all those kinds of things that have been like reversed and taken away from their communities. Like we're getting reports on that all the time now because we've done 18 water filtered drop projects now, and now we're getting like data back, which is really cool, and just communicating back with the people we've been doing it with, and like we knew we were doing the right thing. We knew, like you just knew inside our heart, like what we were doing before we'd even sold a bottle. We knew we knew this was hopefully going to work at least, you know. But we knew in our side that it was going to be the right thing. But then going and doing it, and then now it's like becoming a bit more of a thing, I suppose, and we have the opportunity to help more people because we're selling more products, obviously, and more people are involved in it, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah, the product is amazing. Like, can you explain how you chose the product?
Well, we were in that Central America area and Mexico, and then we're in the States a lot too, because we had the truck we could kind of drive. It's a big drive, but we were driving up and down. And when we were in the States, we noticed, this is like 2016. We noticed there was a lot of people with these insulated products, and we didn't really know what they were, to be honest. Like we were like, oh, they're pretty cool. Like, what are they? And then this one day I was actually we're in Mexico at this place we spent a lot of time with, and one of the girls we were traveling with had this big cup, huge big cup, no lid on it, with a straw in it, and she was always drinking out of it. It was a funny looking cup, and I was like, oh, whatever, that's her cup, her big cup. I didn't really realize.
She likes that cup.
Yeah, she likes that cup. I was like, and then for whatever reason, like we were really close, like we were super good friends. I'd been traveling together for ages, so I was like, there was no like
the same people that own the bus.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so one day she'd gone out with Ellie, and I was at the camp. We're at this like camp right on the beach, and her cup had been on top of the fridge, and it was so hot in Mexico. I was like, well, it's so hot. And I was like, fire out. I don't know, whatever. I picked the cup up just to have a look at it, and it was like full of water. I was like, oh, whoa. And for something come over me, I'd never do this. I was like, just had a sip of it. Like it was full of water. I was like, I'll just have a sip. And it was like super freezing cold. And she hadn't been there for like hours and hours and hours. I was like, whoa, what is that? That's technology. Like, how is that keeping it cold? Like I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, and then she told us about this. Oh, this is like insulated products. You don't, and I was like, what do you mean? We don't have this in Australia. Like we don't have any of these products.
I think we had the old school thermos.
Oh yeah, of course,
like
the old school
everybody
thermos.
knows
Sorry,
the thermos, but not
That's
like
like
a
a cup of tea. Like you keep your tea hot in the thermos. You
Yeah.
don't
back
put your
at
water in it.
footy training when you were a kid or something.
Yeah, for sure.
But there was
but
no
it was really
brand.
it was pretty stylish.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, then we were up in the States and we'd kind of come up with this idea because we'd just seen everybody with these products and there wasn't like one brand, there was a few different brands and everyone from like 20 to 70 was like, what, you don't have one of these ones? Like, it was so classic. And we were like, far out, this is a thing. And we're like, this is actually a thing. And I always remembered someone said, if you wanted to start a product or business and if you were in the States for long enough, not in every facet of life, but they are somewhat ahead in some for products and stuff. There's just so many people over there.
The world follows what they do.
Yeah, totally. And I always remembered that and it was in the back of my mind. And then we knew about the filters and we were like, oh, how you help somebody? And then we were like, oh wow, imagine like a water bottle that helped people get clean water. Like we were like, sure, someone's definitely done that.
Yeah.
Like, and then yeah, there was someone that had sort of done it in America, but definitely no one had done it in Australia. No one had created even really like a water bottle brand or anything like that in Australia. And we were like, okay, all right. So then we started messaging people and then we started finding out about like manufacturing and like, oh, okay, this is like a whole nother thing. Like, let's find this out. So we ended up like getting onto all these manufacturers and we sampled a bunch of their gear. Like we got them sent to an address in the States and then we were on our way back to Mexico because we couldn't never spend too long in the States. We'd get a bit like, all right, let's go back to Mexico, go surfing again. And we went down to Mex and we were in a place like we spent a lot of time, mainland Mexico, big heavy waves, epic place, my favorite place in the world, and black sand beach. So it's like super hot, 35 degrees. And it's like, well, perfect place to test water bottles. So we got all these random companies' bottles. We had like 8 of them, 9 of them. They were all sitting on the sand. We'd fill them up in the morning.
Manufacturers' bottles.
The manufacturers' bottles, they were samples.
Yeah.
And so we had all these different manufacturers and we would fill them up with ice and water and then sit there all down the beach and we'd just do our thing and we'd be just watching them in the black sand on the sun and we were like, all right. And at the end of the day, we'd see which one had more water or coldest water left, basically. We're like, all right, well, those guys know how to make insulated products. So then we like got rid of all those guys and then we narrowed it down to 2 and then we were just like looking at the construction of them and which one was the solidest and best that held the water temperature as long.
And the lightest.
And the lightest, but sort of like the best construction of it. And the design wasn't that good. It was just like the manufacturing quality. And we're like, yeah, let's get in touch with these guys. And then we got in touch with them again. We're like, yeah, we love the products. And that's how it sort of began. And then we knew that we had a opportunity here. So then we just started learning like, all right, what do we want? What's the thing that we want? Like we just started researching every single day, every single moment of every day of like pain points, like every pain point of every product that already exists. Let's find all of them and try and get rid of them out of the product and make a product that's like really simple to look at, but it's actually like fully packed full of like tech and features, but it's just like a cup or a bottle. But for someone who didn't know, it's just a cup that keeps their coffee hot. But it was like every little part of that cup or the bottle design was specifically designed for what it's for. Like simple things like putting it under the barista coffee machine. Like the cafe owner wants it to be easy, you know, like and to be stylish and fit in the hand. And
for sure.
Having the 2 lids.
And we really wanted it to have a somewhat masculine feel because we felt like there was a lot of guys out there that hadn't really jumped on the reusable coffee cup movement, which is the best movement that's around in my opinion.
And the bottles as well.
And water bottles for sure. But yeah, we just wanted to make something that like guys felt like nice to hold and, you know, like, I can take my cup into the cafe because we felt like on the market there was a lot of cups out there, but maybe they were on the more feminine side.
Yeah.
So
and then there was
that
also the other way where there was like the more feminine, but then there was ones that were just like so big and chunky that they didn't suit the cafe culture market
they didn't
in
fit in the
Australia.
cup holder.
They didn't fit in the
true.
cup holder. There's just so many little pain points that like
Yeah.
see a product but you can like make it better.
Yeah.
So we just kind of worked every day and every moment, spare moment. Like we were still traveling, but then we were like, okay, we've got this purpose. It's been 2.5 years. We were kind of ready to do something. And it'd been long enough not being a Sparky to then know that I didn't have to be a Sparky again, because I'd only ever just gone back to being a Sparky again to make money.
But how good's not crawling around roos anymore?
So good.
Yeah, it's so inspiring, and like you can tell, like if you get a Pargo product, like even I bought the 2 cups the other day, and I got a bottle that you gave us, and the straw has a cleaner, and then that comes in this nice cardboard box that's all printed, and then inside the cup when you buy, you lift the lid off, and there's info about the cup. Like it's just, you can tell you haven't, it's the 1% that makes the big difference.
Totally.
And I think you haven't missed anything. It's like,
Cheers.
yeah, it's I know, well, we notice that shit now being a business, you know, it's like,
for sure.
all the work. And like, how's like now straws are the new thing? You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
I'm so you go into that. Like,
Yeah.
just like people don't want to just open it up and drink now. They just want to go pop,
Man.
and then they don't want to be like microplastic straws. And then it's like, you know,
Totally.
these next little things.
Exactly,
Because that would stop if it was a plastic, like some shitty plastic. You're like, I'm not buying the whole bottle now.
no
Totally.
way.
It's these one little thing.
That was something for me, because everyone wanted the straw lid, and we got emails day in, day out for like a year. And we were trying to design it because we wanted to keep this lid looking like the other flask lid. And it took a long time to get it right. And having the stainless, it always didn't make sense to me. Like you got this nice stainless steel bottle, but then you've just got a plastic straw sitting in your water all day. It just like didn't make sense. I'm like, let's make a stainless steel one that adapts onto it. And then our manufacturer's like, oh, I don't know about that. And we're like, yeah, we can do it. You know, like you can do anything. You just got to keep pushing and keep going.
For sure.
Even like the sip hole on the cup, like our manufacturers didn't want to make it that small, but I measured like all of the takeaway single-use ones, because that's like a feeling when you drink coffee. It's like a creamy, you can almost sucking it out of the
I
lid.
know, it's true.
And we got the first samples and they were too big. I was like, nah, they're no good. Like we can't have that.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, if it's any smaller, the coffee's not going to come out. I'm like, trust me, the coffee's going to come out. Like, we design it, you know, we know what we need. And then
we
eventually
really had to trust our gut then, because when you design your product, you need to mold it.
Yeah.
So when they didn't want to make it our measurement that we wanted, because it's
you can't
reverse it once, and then these molds, you'd fall off your chair if you knew how much they cost. It's crazy. And they were like, well, if we do it, like, we can't reverse it. You're up for the cost. And we were looking at each other and we were like, I don't know, it should be. And we were like, no, we're solid on it. Like, people want that same sensation from drinking from a takeaway cup to the same as the reusable cup.
So
100%.
You don't want it to be like smelly and funky. And so we just like make it super clean and simple.
That's so sick, man.
Yeah, how good is
How
that?
cool is hearing the little details of business? No matter what the business is, it's interesting.
Totally.
When people talk about that thing.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. Especially like knowing that you're really aligned with like helping people too. Like I feel like that's a big part of business that people don't really like. I just feel like it's not that sustainable to just make money.
No,
like,
I wouldn't be able to
just do something purely for money.
Nah.
You know, I just don't. I think like helping people brings just the aspect to it that's like makes you feel fulfilled, because if you don't have that, you feel lost.
Sure.
Yeah.
100%.
And I feel sick sometimes. I think about making a cool new product and I'm like, fuck, that'd be sick and I could make a lot of money. And then I just instantly go, ugh. You know, it's
That's
like
honestly what happened to us. Like before we actually locked into this idea, it was all just floating around. We were looking on all kinds of stuff, like looking at doing like an Amazon company, because we were traveling for so long. And we we're like, oh, imagine that. We could just like sell on Amazon and keep traveling forever. Like, it's a beautiful idea. And then like the truth in that, there was just no soul in it. So we were like, we'd actually spent a bit of time learning about it. So we learned heaps of stuff, which was awesome. But then we were like, oh, no, that's so not us. Like, and then this water filter thing came and we were like, whoa, this is us. This is definitely us. Like, I'm already being to these places since I was 18. I'm going to keep going there. I'm not stopping going there. Like, let's make it a purpose to go there. And then you get the bonus at the end of it, which is what you were going there in the original place, in the original for. So it's like,
well, you get rewarded for it too, man. Because do you ever listen to Simon Squibb? You ever heard that Simon Squibb guy? He's the guy that goes and asks people in the street what their dream is, and now he's gone viral.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So he's got a lot of gold on YouTube for businesses, right? Cool. Like gold. And he goes, what we were taught in business is like you give something and they give you something back. And he goes, but really what it is and what I've learned and really what has made him millions of dollars, he goes, I just give. You just give value. You just give it all away. And he goes, it's crazy what comes back, and unintentionally it comes back, but that comes back because you're giving. So you obviously need to pay for your own life and everything too. You know what I mean? But but then in turn, it ends up helping more people. And I remember what you said earlier about how when you were doing that Curtis Island job, how you felt like your soul wasn't in it.
Yeah.
But it's funny how really the pendulum swings both ways. So even though that place is like whatever, a Great Barrier Reef nightmare.
Yeah.
It's really funded you to go travel for 3 years unintentionally or 2 years and then create this, which then has changed the world. And not only changed the world, you're just one person from that has done that. Who knows what else has come, other people have been inspired, but also then you tell your message to someone listening right now and they buy your water bottles and they get inspired to do it. So it's like there's always this universal balance of like of like destruction and creation, you know, and it's always going to be balanced. And I think we can get tricked thinking it's out of balance because we get the media tell us all these things. But you know, I think about all the shit going on in the world now, about how you think, like, I got some people that talk to me about how evil the world is and the wars and stuff, but then I think, well, I would have thought that in 1945 and World War II. I would have thought that when Genghis Khan slaughtered half the world. Like there's always going to be this pendulum swinging.
Yeah, police need hippies and hippies need police.
It's got to be the yin yang of everything, right?
So
100%.
And do you remember, or you would, the very first time? Oh, and also the other question I was thinking is like a feeling that I get sometimes when I travel, say if it's been like, even you've done it for years, but like a month, is I'll start to feel like a little sometimes uneasy, like, oh sweet, I can do this for a while, I can have fun, but like, what am I doing anything for? You know, like say when we're in Bali, after a couple of weeks, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go work now, because the work is the service, and the service is really the thing that will feed the soul. And the travel's great, but you still need that service, because it's like boredom. No matter what you're doing, boredom 100%. Will start to creep in. Yep. So do you remember the very first project you did, and you went there, and the person that you gave it to, and that moment?
The first project that we did.
First project where you actually changed the water for the first person.
Yeah. I remember it clear as day. I mean,
still one of the best projects we've ever done. Was the first project. Yeah. The area we went was really remote, and they and very poor, like really, really poor there, which is it was.
Where was this?
Eye-opening. It was in Sumbawa in Indonesia, but quite remote, like from where we were staying, because obviously we still need to stay in accommodation. But yeah, maybe like a couple of hours from there, maybe an hour or two, on a dirt road, you know. Yeah. But yeah, when we got there, I just remember all the people like gathering around the big tree that we were gathered under, and
we had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah,
but looking back on it.
But the guy that we were with was incredible, still to this day, like one of the most inspiring people that we've ever met.
For sure.
His name's Carlos.
Shout out to the Harapan Project.
Yeah, like amazing person. And yeah, like everyone wanted to touch us. Like they wanted to hug us, and they were like, oh my gosh, that kind of thing. And all the women were lining up, and they were making me like touch their bellies. Yeah, and some were pregnant, and the ones that weren't pregnant were really making me touch them and like hugging me, because they were saying that this clean water that we're bringing into the village is going to hopefully make them fall pregnant, because they were struggling for so many years, and like, you know, they don't have any way to fix that. So they were talking about that a lot. And that was super eye-opening to me. Like, you know, I didn't
do that too.
I didn't go into this village thinking anything to do with women not being able to fall pregnant, and how clean water could potentially, you know, give them that gift. But after we left that project, and like after we'd gone to a few other villages, Carlos said to me, he was like, you know that you're like the first white woman that's ever been into that village.
Holy shit.
And I'm so glad I didn't know that before I went in. It was just that after, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like that would have been like another reason as to probably why they would like so grateful, you know, because where we were, they they were so poor that there was probably only like one scooter, or like it was a scooter, wasn't even a motorbike for that village. And the only time they would probably ever use that would be to get to the hospital or get clean water. So the only time they ever drink actually purchased clean water is when they're like really sick, like probably like
Fucking hell.
on borderline of like, they call it like, I don't know, but yeah, just borderline very, very, very sick. And that's the only time that they would buy water. And that's the huge problem, because they don't have any money to buy clean water. So then they only ever use it when they're really sick. And I think we just learnt so much on that project. And yeah, I just still remember like all the ladies. And then like I'd have like they'd pass me their babies. So they'd be like, pass me the baby, and they're like, hold this baby. And then like this lady would come like, oh, come on, like, I want you to hold my baby. And like, yeah, it was just the most mind-blowing and just such a humbling experience.
100%.
And just so beautiful. And yeah.
Was it the way I explain it, it was like the best line of coke you've ever had in your life.
yeah. You
like,
won't feel happier.
The high you get
Yeah.
of the inner knowing, like, whoa, this feeling you have. Why do we have this feeling so strongly when we help someone else? Like, it's eternal. You know?
Totally. Like you guys are saying, like offering, value or giving as much as you can for free is the best thing you can ever do. Like for us, the giving is the clean water giving. It's like in the business, and it is at the very top of the list. Like for us, it's like second is make epic products. Yeah. But second, number one is help. And you got to sell heaps of stuff to help people. So it kind of pushes you to sell. I wouldn't be able to just sell water bottles for money.
Nah.
No way. Like I wouldn't have ever started it, but I also, for whatever reason, if I did, I would have quit by now. It's all about helping people for sure. Like every second of the day.
And that's what we always say. It's like any person that has a Pargo has made this happen. It's not really about Dylan and I making this change and bringing all this clean water, because we would never be doing it if somebody didn't buy a Pargo. So we always say that it's like
just
such
an unfailable project, really. And it's like I just had an image of Steve-O and saying, like, he's like, and I love money because I'll buy up all this bloody land and I'll turn it. It's like that vibes, you know? It's just like, fuck
100%.
You want people like that to succeed. Yeah. You want to support them. Yeah, like instantly after I spoke to you the other day, I was like, I'm not buying Yeti anymore. Sorry, Yeti. Like, I love your products and stuff, but I was like, this has such a big heart behind it. I was like, that's fucking sick, you know?
Yeah, true.
It's like, I buy Yeti, I think about like camping and like being out in the wilderness. And that's cool too, but like
100%
helping people fucking survive and live.
Yeah,
like, that's powerful,
crazy,
man.
It's crazy how clean water really doesn't have a language barrier, and all the different places in the world that we've done these projects now, like whether it's Fiji or Indo or Africa. We didn't get to go to the Uganda project, but just
I can't wait to see that one.
Just like seeing the people in every different village, and it's night and day, right? Like you see clear water, you see dirty water. Which one are you going to drink? Like you don't need to be able to even communicate with each other to know that we're all on the same we're all human, and we're all the same at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how much money you got or what color your skin is or where you live or anything like that. At the end of the day, it's all about breathing clean air and drinking clean water. And it wasn't that long ago when the whole world had clean water. It's only in the last, I don't know, hundreds of years. Not that considering how long the world has been alive. Everyone would just live next to a river. And the river was running.
You could trust the
crystal
river.
Clear. Exactly. And now you can't trust the river. It's heavy.
Fuck, man, that's so sick. Yeah, it's I really can't wait to see how big this gets, and it even motivates me to look at like where in the future is our direct input going to be. I know we aspire people to eat good and get out of pain and stuff, but you know what I mean? Like it's nice to be right in front of the person and see their face when you give it to them and see what it's doing. Like
100%.
Because we get a lot of like messages and stuff from people, but it'd just be cool. Yeah. Well,
I mean, that's the Facebook group that is for corrective culture. Like, you guys must be so proud of that. And like every time someone
I feel like you guys are giving out a lot of good positivity. And I feel the vibes. I know that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
I feel like fuck. A few a week. Like, I get a few DMs a week. That's like, man, this changed my life. This changed my life. And for me, that's worth more than any amount of money. It's like, it's cool.
100%.
Like, I want to make a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but I want to do good with it. That's like, I want to fucking help people. And I think we've got the same core values with that, same dream. So it's like, we want to make gyms that help people get off the shit food and the fuck, like, there's a lot to do,
there's a bit on
with minimal time.
So
it's like,
and that's what I mean though. Like with the water, people need it. With the people need to get healthy. Like the market's there. You know, the market's
funny
there.
you say the word need. I love that word.
Yeah.
It's a need, not
It
a
is a
want.
need.
It's a need.
Yeah.
Same with our products. Like any product, I think that it's not a guarantee to success, but like helping that, making it a need, like not making it, but using a need-based item.
Yes.
As in, like, you need to be healthy. You need to eat right. You need to drink the water.
Well, you need water. You only last a couple of days without it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or like you need to have a reusable cup and a reusable water bottle to like help our planet that we're destroying every single day.
I know.
Yeah, because paper cups are actually plastic cups, unfortunately.
Man, I saw from someone shared it, like the aluminium cans actually have a plastic layering in the middle of it, and it looks like a fucking condom. It doesn't even look like hard plastic. And I was like, whoa. And then I saw Human Lab shared this morning. He must have just had a plastic lady on and said, oh, the evidence is now quite clear that all the like drinking out plastic water bottles is like actually bad for your health. It's not like a little thing. It's like you'll pay for it one day.
Totally.
And that's what a really cheap insulated product looks like on the inside too, which I don't know if a lot of people know about, but that's why insulated water bottles vary in price so much, because the cheap ones you're actually drinking out of a plastic bottle at the end of the day, because
evil.
they call them stainless steel bottles, but they're not actually made with 18 by 8 or
Well, they're not made with enough stainless steel. They mix them with aluminium.
Right.
Oh, right.
But they only need a percentage of stainless steel in there to call it a stainless steel water bottle. And then on the inside, they have to put that plastic lining on it to make it food safe. So, yeah.
Classic.
If you're ever out there, it's like really good to like put your finger inside the water bottle, because then you can feel like if it's pure.
Right. What are you feeling for? Like, what do you mean? Like,
Like plastic.
Yeah, on the cheap bottles, you'll know any expensive brand. Yeah, you'll feel it, and it should be electro polish, and it's like really, really smooth, really nice stainless steel. But then you'll see like a Kmart bottle or something, and it'll be like a $6 insulated bottle. Even me, I'm like, how did they do that? You know, that's so expensive to make. Like, that's why they're expensive to buy.
Yeah.
And you'll open the lid and you'll feel it, and there's like a thin, like it's been sprayed in there. So you'll feel it, and you'll feel it's like a bit glossy or a bit waxy. Yeah. It's like a plastic liner to make it food safe. Yeah. So what happens is they make it food safe with this plastic.
Fucking hell.
So then you're filling what you thought was a positive, you know, for you and the environment, and then you're drinking water that's got plastic leaching in it out of your stainless steel bottle. And then as soon as the plastic wears off, then you've got an aluminium bottle that you're drinking out of. It's like, oh my God. How evil can these people be?
And I've got an aluminium brain too. That was the only thing. That was the only thing I was high in when I got my heavy metals tested.
I was high in all the ones that you get from bongs. Growing up, just
really?
Well, I went through like it was like arsenic, lead, and I was like, oh, and then I went through like cigarettes and shit, and it's probably the spin and tobacco that you know.
Totally.
And I was like, oh shit, that's probably where I got all my heavy metals from.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but
lucky you detox and we detox. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say just before we wrap this up is we've got Corrective Culture Cross Pargo bottles coming out soon.
That was so frothing when you said that.
Yeah.
That'll be sick, dude.
Yeah. So
what color?
Black, I reckon.
Black, yeah.
On brand, you know.
Yeah.
Black or white, you know.
Yeah. I guess black with white writing would look pretty sick because they're insulated anyway.
I don't know. Can you just do silver, hey?
We can do silver. We can do white. We'll get something going.
Oh,
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be
We'll make
fun.
it fun.
So
100%.
Yeah, so tell them the design, Jake, for people listening.
Yeah, well,
'cause
I was
sick
speaking to him
design.
about it a little bit. Well, what I want to do is intuitive heart mind along the bottom.
It's got to get that logo, eh?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and then on one side CC logo and then a yin and yang logo on the other side.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we can do both sides.
We'll make it work. We'll
We'll figure something out. Yeah, I mean,
it's gonna
like,
be sick.
yeah, it could be.
Can't
we'll
wait.
work it out.
100%.
Yeah, that'll be especially with the intuitive heart mind, because it's a symbol to me. So whenever I get reminded, like I made the background of my phone certain things, so when I see it, it reminds me of a feeling, and which like pulls me in line. And like right now, what is it? It's an Abraham Hicks quote. Oh shit! And it's just stop the trying and start the aligning and watch what happens. Damn. And whenever I read that, I'm like, oh, that puts me in a state of mind. So whenever I read, it's like even in the gym and I see intuitive heart mind on the wall, which is what I want the water bowl to be for people. Intuitive heart mind, like that's the sickest thing. And it come from a Ram Dass lecture, didn't it?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, just listen to your intuitive heart mind. And Jake was like, that's fucking sick.
Yeah.
Because that's basically the bottom line of what corrective culture is, man. It's like get your intuition, your your soul's intuition, which is what you've done for your company, right? In line, in symbiotic relationship with your heart and your mind, because a lot of us are living separate, including myself, and we go through waves of this. Of our heart and mind are telling us different things. And mine's telling us one thing, but my heart's telling me another.
For sure.
And the heart, what do you say about that? You drop some wisdom on this.
Yeah, I just think like I get an image in spiritual the other day of like when your heart and your head and your sexual center and your gut and everything aligns, everything kind of like falls into place. And like you look at your soul as a horse that wants to go and ride off, and then if you're leaning off to one side, everything doesn't work.
Totally.
So it's like when you start to like fall into alignment, which would be like Pargo helping people and then selling, and you know that feeling of like you said about having the best line of cocaine, like falling into alignment really does feel like that.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen all the time either. Hey, but you got to be aware of it.
But you can feel when it happens.
100%.
You can feel when you're like, oh, I know I'm going this way, and I know that's the way to go.
Yeah.
It's
Rum Dust when he died, just before he died. This was like a year before he died. It was like he had a stroke and such. You know who Rum Dust is?
Yeah.
He said, he's like, I wish what I knew now, I could pass this on to everyone. He's like, I just got out of my head and went into my heart, and that's it. And he's like, I don't even tell people to do meditation anymore. It's just like, I just breathe into my heart. And I was like, that's what I've been doing in Spirit Gym too, like heart breathing meditation. And it's like, you just smile at the end of it because you just like, you get out of here into here.
Totally.
It's such a good feeling.
100%.
Yeah, and then how you were saying like, and it's been inspiring me, like watching them go through this, which then inspires my friends of using that intuitive heart mind for like the little decisions in your life. Like it could be like, do I want the iPhone 16 Pro or the iPhone 16? Like it could be like that, you know. But like these tiny little things, like decisions, they're everywhere, and they don't have to be this big major decision. But then when the big ones come your way, you've had practice to connect to, so you can make a choice of
and make the right decision, or hopefully the right decision.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I went through it getting this car, man. Like I decided to get this BMW wagon, and I was like, I know this is a thing, and I already witnessed that it's not a level of happiness. Like I don't have happiness attached to it, because I know as soon as you park the car and you're sitting in your couch for 5 minutes, you're the same person, no matter what car's in the garage, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But then I thought about that, and I think about like Paul, like playing in the garden. Like this is me playing in the garden plus tax, but I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't tax. That's first and foremost. But I was thinking like, how do I feel when I'm in it? Like, will this make me feel different? You know, and it probably shouldn't, but in the short term, it sort of does. Like, if I feel like if I'm in it and then I go to work, I'm like more driven or something. So I thought about all these things, and I thought, let's just play in the garden. Let's just experience this for a little bit.
It's a conscious decision. You know?
It was conscious.
Yeah.
It was conscious. So it was cool. Otherwise, I could have regretted it, but I don't.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a small
thing.
That. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So when are we letting these bottles roll? I'm just got to get the logo and
logo.
A couple of weeks, I reckon.
Yeah.
A few weeks.
A few weeks.
So.
Yeah.
Before the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely.
That'd be sick.
So people listening.
While it's summertime.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So jump on these water bottles. We're just getting 2 litre ones, eh?
No, we'll get coffee cups too.
Oh, cool. I love that.
So anyone listening, fucking, you heard the podcast. Like, you know what we're about. You know what we're wanting to support you guys. And if they sell, we're going to order more, and we're going to keep them going and going bigger with them. So just so stoked to be aligned with you guys. And 100%. Thank you so much for coming on the potty. I really appreciate what you do. And so stoked to get behind it in any way we can.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks to you guys. Yeah, we're so stoked to be here, and so stoked to see you guys absolutely killing it. It's unreal. Like,
Cheers, man. And for people just to find more, get your products, like where do they go?
Probably just online for sure, or there's like 400 retailers across Australia and New Zealand now selling the products. So, you know, go on the Stockist map and have a look. There's heaps of cool places selling them. Or obviously online as well.
Is it projectpargo.com or Pargo?
Projectpargo.com.
Projectpargo.com.
Cool. So, and the Instagram is just project.pargo?
Project_Pargo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Shit, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Follow the journey. I can't wait to see what the crystal ball looks like in 10 years from now. Eh?
Likewise.
Holy shit.
Be corrective culture gyms in every place.
I know, man. I really.
Who knows?
I know. I have a feeling that's in my head for a while now. I think it's one of those things. It's like, it's a lot of work, but the world needs it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And purely, I just think of a place that people go, and then they can get their food there, and they're inspired to go to the farmers markets there. And it's not just a normal gym. It's like this culture to literally change the way where people spend their money. because
Totally.
that's going to
that changes the soil.
That changes the soil, yeah.
Yeah.
And just educate these people, man. Have a hub for people that want to do workshops out of there, and just like, I don't know, if the coast needs it. I know we'd have an army of support there, and how sick would it be to just train in a joint like that and hang out with like-minded people.
100%. Yeah, no, it's going to happen.
Get Pargos all in the coffee shop there.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
100%.
Sick.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Much
Much
love.
love.